Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tonight, I thought I'll start with something different. In the past, I've shown on the screen some of the nasty comments that I've received from some people, essentially trying to silence me. It is a pity that in Zimbabwe, we have a corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical dictatorship, and we're stuck with it. ZanuPf has rigged the elections for the last 44 years, and here's the reason why the country is stuck with the regime. And 44 years of gross mismanagement, rampant corruption, and tyrannical rule has reduced the country to the sorry state it is in. We are in economic ruin, and our politics is so corrupted that it is incapable of defining the way out of this mess. We are in political paralysis. The ZanuPf regime itself is tearing itself apart. All they know is the looting, and they're determined to stay in power. And if they can help it, if it was up to them, some of them would want to stay in power forever. Mnangagwa is clearly as keen as mustard to go for the third term. For a third term. If he could change the constitution, he would change it, and he is president for life. And he establishes his own dynasty to rule after him, just as Mugabe tried to do. And as for the opposition, I think the opposition has been rendered utterly useless. I've said it on this platform, and I'll say it again. Triple C has been no more than ZanuPf Team B. They've been playing for Team A to win and to have legitimacy. And I've said this, and I've been bombarded with negative criticism. But today, I'm posting on the screen some positive criticism or compliment. What the individual is saying here is Wilbert said it before the elections that ZanuPf was rigging. And you rejected it. He also said your claim that you're closing the voting loopholes was not correct, and you rejected it. He also said Chamisa was selling out, and you told him to mind his own business. And he has said, if nothing is done, ZanuPf is meant to win the next elections. And you said, you are nuts. You have criticized him for saying the same thing every day. Let him make it a national anthem. He is trying to show the nation that the political system is not working. Thank you very much for that encouraging comment. when you think the number of negative criticism, you appreciate even more some positive. But that is really the truth. I think it's most unfortunate that ZanuPf imposed on the nation this culture where there's no meaningful debate. ZanuPf has stifled meaningful debate and political discourse. And so for the last 44 years, we really have not had any meaningful debate. The media itself has been totally controlled by ZanuPf with the view of projecting a ZanuPf point of view and nothing else. ZanuPf has taken it upon itself that anyone who criticizes the regime is an enemy of the state. And unfortunately, the opposition, such as it is, have adopted the same policy as well. In this country, anyone who criticizes those in positions of power and authority, public office, has been game, has been attacked from both sides because of this mentality, this culture that ZanuPf is literally imposed on the nation. The culture of intolerance, stifling debate, and political discourse. Well, I think we have got to get over it. A healthy and functioning democracy demands that those who have held public office, are holding public office, or aspiring to hold public office must be accountable to the people. Democracy, if we understand it as the government of the people, for the people, by the people, power rests with the people. And if those people are going to exercise that power, they have got to hold those who they've entrusted to hold public office, to make decisions on behalf of the public, to account. Why that has been taken to mean you can only hold those who are in opposition to account. You cannot hold my leader and my party to account. Beggars belief. But that is the mentality we have in Zimbabwe today. People like myself have taken fire from both sides of the political divide. And some of the more overzealous party supporters have taken it upon themselves to defend their leader and their party to the point of castigating anyone who dares to hold their leader or party to account. If you ask them whether those people believe in democracy, they will be very quick off the line to say they believe in democracy. The only problem with these people is, of course, they believe in democracy, in democratic accountability, as long as it applies to everybody else except them or their leader. I have been accused of hating Chamisa because I have repeatedly said MDC has failed to implement the democratic reforms to ensure free, fair, and credible elections. However, anyone can interpret that as hating Chamisa, beggars belief. They will not address the issue at the table, i.e., did the opposition MDC, Triple C, implemented the reforms? ZanuPf rigged elections last year, blatantly. And the main reason for it, simple. There hasn't been any talk, not even a token reform implemented. And yet they've been on the political stage for the last 24 years. 5 of them in the GNU. I repeat, the primary purpose in Zimbabwe of the opposition was to implement the democratic changes necessary to stop ZanuPf rigging the elections. They had the opportunity to do so, golden opportunity to do so during the GNU. They failed to implement even one reform. As long as ZanuPf is able to rig the elections and get away with it, we are not going out of this. We're not getting out of this mess. To say, no, we should focus on ZanuPf. Focus on ZanuPf for what end and purpose? We know they rig elections. We have all agreed that they've been rigging elections since 1980. The question is, how are we going to stop them rigging the elections? And the answer was there. Let's implement the democratic reforms to stop ZanuPf rigging the elections. And so the number one priority is, let's get somebody who will implement the reforms or force ZanuPf to implement the reforms so that we can have free, fair, and credible elections. That point is at the heart of this debate. We are going for the 2028 elections. Indeed, we are already in campaign mode as far as ZanuPf and the opposition is concerned. They are always in campaign mode. But where we are heading right now is another election without even one token reform implemented. ZanuPf, of course, will have no motive to implement any reforms. The opposition, ever since they failed to implement the reforms during the GNU, have given up on implementing reforms. They've been participating in these flawed elections for the sake of the few gravy train seats that ZanuPf gives to entice the opposition to participate. They know they're never going to win rigged elections. Chamisa was lying, saying that Triple C was going to win big last year. And I can tell you now, come 2028, you'll be repeating the same lie to entice people to participate. And the same head of people will accept the lies and participate. I think we have to break this mold. This political system is not working, and we've got to break it. And this criticism that those in leadership should not be held to account is completely contrary to what democracy is all about. And I stand by the democratic values that those who are holding public office, who have held public office, or aspiring to hold public office, they must be accountable to the people. And I constitute the people too. Some have criticized, oh, you are not in Zimbabwe. Holding leaders to account does not say that you can only hold a leader to account if you are in Zimbabwe, or if you are black, or if you are white, you are female or male, of this tribe or that tribe. It doesn't say that. You are accountable to the people. Answer the question. Did ZanuPf rig last year's elections? Mnangagwa has got to account for it. Why was ZanuPf able to blatantly rig the elections again? Chamisa and company must account for it, because we're supposed to be implementing reforms to stop the rigging. And they failed to do so in 24 years. I think the issue of holding those in public office to account, it must be said that that is not negotiable. The idea that somehow Chamisa must be an exception is ridiculous. Why should he be an exception? The idea that Mnangagwa should be an exception should only account for the Second Republic. Nonsense. He was in the Mugabe administration. He should account for what he did during that time, as much as he should account for what he did these last 6 years. We have had many feeble excuses why the leaders should not be held to account. I think we should reject all of them for where they are. Nonsense. I'll state it here and now, and for the record. All leaders who have held public office, holding public office, aspiring to hold public office, they must be accountable to the people. And I constitute the people. I am as much of that group, the people. And so if I ask pertinent questions to those people, they must account for it. And I'm not going to apologize for holding those people to account. My last word, Handizivi, muti, onoera. All those holding public office are accountable. That is not negotiable. Thank you very much. There's one comment here. I'll just let's just have a quick look at it. The money for Chamisa bulletproof car disappeared in Chamisa's hands. Well, that is maybe those who made the donation. It's up to them to hold him to account for that. But I think for some of us who did not make any contribution, I don't know how it was raised and how it was supposed to be accounted for and so forth. But what I can honestly say is that Chamisa did con millions of people in Zimbabwe last year, telling them that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes. They participated in their millions. And that, in my view, contributed to SADC doing nothing about holding ZanuPf to democratic account. To SADC, failing to deny ZanuPf political legitimacy. And the idea that Chamisa is going to do the same thing again in 2028 beggars belief. It's something that I honestly think we should not allow to happen. We can't keep repeating the same mistake over and over again. 44 years after independence, and we still can't hold free, fair, and credible elections. Of course, we should hang our heads in shame. This day and age, we're failing to define what constitutes free, fair, and credible elections. Amazing. But my main message today, all those who have held public office, who are holding public office, who are aspiring to hold public office, they must know that they are accountable to the people. Whether those people belong to their party, to the opposition, or they're not politically active in any of the parties, they are outside the country, they are from one tribe or another, it doesn't matter. They are accountable to the people. And that is not negotiable. That is what I mean by Handizivi muti. That is not negotiable. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good evening.